Hello, everybody, and how you doing? And welcome to the Focus on Greatness podcast. My name is Hiram, and on this platform, we are helping men, being able to redefine greatness through service. And so today, I have someone on that I believe is going to be able to help us in this aspect of becoming great and dealing with certain things. I really have been on this journey of trying to help men as well as myself deal with when it comes in reference to our feelings. And I know surely as a lot of men, that's a cliche of conversation that we hear, but I want to specifically deal with something today that I have this guest that is coming on. I know that he is going to help us. Should you do me a favor and welcome to me, Daniel? How you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. Wow, that was quite the introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, man. Do me a favor before we dive into our conversation. Um, Introduce yourself to everyone, and just so they can get a chance to get to know you a little bit, and then we'll kind of go through this journey and see what tools we can bring out of our bags.
Yeah. My name is Daniel Reyes. I'm up in northern Idaho. Um, background is about 4 years ago, I nearly died. I spent like 2 months in the hospital, 3 weeks of which was in an end of life room. So I've had quite the ordeal, but thank God I've really turned things around and I've lost a ton of weight and significantly improved my health, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm glad that you are on, and I'm glad that we're going to have this conversation. I know when we initially talked, and you were telling me your journey and telling me your story, after we got off the phone, I was like, I can't wait to have this conversation. I can't wait to be able to bring you on and dive in because, as I shared before, there are so many people, so many men that struggle in this area, and but there's so many other pieces. And so before I feel like I feel like
Yeah.
it's
Oh
almost
yeah.
like I'm about to give the movie away. And but so I don't want to go too deep. Let's dive into the conversation. Really, really good. And then it'll make more sense to everyone that is listening. So in your story, you say, even in the intro, you had some situations in reference to your weight. Tell me
Mhm.
some more about that, and we'll go more into it.
Yeah. So my whole life, my weight has been my issue, right? Like I,
Mhm.
I don't ever remember a time not being overweight or
Mhm.
not trying to be on a diet and losing the weight. Um, my grandfather was a professional wrestler in Mexico and bodybuilder.
Wow.
So it's not a genetic thing really
Mhm.
for me. It was I had been born with a heart condition, and typically with cardiac patients, there's a high likelihood of being overweight.
Mhm.
That's just they go hand in hand.
Right.
And so yeah, so I was always trying to lose weight. He was always showing me different ways to try, and just it wasn't working no matter what I did. So like I get the frustration people have with these things. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
nodding
No,
along too.
it's
Yeah.
yeah. I'm because I per se I guess I would say more so mine is genetic on some sense, I guess.
Hmm.
But I was a very I don't want to say very, very skinny, but I was thin and skin and bones when I was younger. Then as I got older, then I started to gain weight and things of that nature. Um, but what through your process, through your process of going through what you went through and dealing with your weight, how did you what are some of the things that I guess you would say that kind of shifted that? Or even some of before we get into your shift, let's get into what was the emotional piece that you dealt with being or kind of living in this context of just being overweight.
Yeah. That's a big question. I mean I always felt insecure, right?
Mm,
You always feel insecure about your body.
yeah.
Um, I looking back at it, I think there was a little bit of just being a kid and like a teenager, and
Mhm.
you're not exactly the most secure person then. So like
Right,
there's
right.
some of that, but
Yeah.
then also when it's constantly brought up by friends and family, like hey,
Mhm.
you need to take care of your there's something that happens to you there.
Yeah.
There's an insecurity that gets built because you're not seen as a person, you're seen as a problem that needs to be fixed,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
that's really hard to live with.
No, that is. No, that's
Yeah.
I think that probably is more stressful than just the weight itself.
Hmm.
Because now in your and I'm thinking about in your scenario, your situation, you were raised kind of with that already. So it wasn't one of those things where you gained it later on or accident or whatever happened, then you had it. It's like this has been kind of what you are. And so now for when people share or say those statements, I can just imagine the emotional feeling of feeling not that you're not good enough, or feeling that you're not meeting those standards. I can imagine the feeling that
Hmm.
that probably had with you. Now, where did your shift come from, or that transition in reference to you losing the amount of weight that you have at this point?
Yeah, so I basically it all stems from 4 years ago, right? In
Hmm.
in the end of life room.
Okay.
It was a bad situation. Basically, I'd been heavy my whole life. I had the heart condition, but the
Hmm.
heart condition, like, it's something to keep an eye on, but it's not. It wasn't inhibiting my life at all.
Okay.
But at this point, um, I ended up getting blood clots in my lungs and in my right leg,
Mm.
and so that was a bad situation. And then with the heart, like, it all just compounded on each other,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, they pulled me aside and said, "Look, you're probably going to need a heart transplant at some point within the next 5 years. So we
Mm.
don't just give those away to anybody. You have to be within a certain BMI to even be considered.
Okay.
So you're nowhere near it right now. So you've got to lose all this weight,
Mm.
or that could be it. Like that, that's it. 5 years.
Wow.
So I mean, yeah. So that ticking clock is very motivating. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can see that would be. Yeah.
Yeah. But basically, at that point, then I'm trying everything, right? You name the diet, I've been trying it. It's not that I hadn't tried them before, and I've had some success with diets, different
Hmm.
different varying ones, but almost every time without fail, it goes for about, I don't know, 2 to 3 months,
Hmm.
and then it starts slowing down, and then it stops, and then you get mad,
Right.
and then you're like, what am I gonna do? And then you eat, and then it all comes back, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it brings friends, and now you're even worse, and you're mad, and you don't know what to do, so you go try
Yep.
something else. Yeah, you've been there, I imagine,
Yep.
right?
And
A
this
lot of
this
people have.
continual
Yeah.
cycle over and over again. Yep.
So
Yes, sir.
so there's
I
some
know.
science behind it,
Hmm.
actually,
Oh,
and
okay.
and a lot of that is because when you diet, right, as opposed to fasting, right?
Hmm.
When you diet, you're reducing the amount of calories that you take in. Doesn't
Hmm.
matter what type of diet it is, that's the goal of a diet.
Okay.
And you are slowly reducing your metabolism.
Mm.
So your body will adapt to the lower nutrients that you're giving it. So that's
Wow.
that slow down. Yeah. So the problem is then
Mm.
when you get frustrated and you eat, well, your metabolism is already lower.
Right. Right. So
And
it
you
has
just ate.
nothing to.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now it brings it all back and stores it because it just went like, dude, we didn't have much food for a long time. I
Yeah.
don't know what's
Yeah.
going on. I gotta store this. Whereas with fasting, it immediately switches and goes, well, we got to burn all this fat because there's nothing around.
Mm. I like
So
that. I didn't,
yeah,
and I didn't know I didn't know that that was a scientific thing.
yeah,
But that makes sense though. It makes sense
right.
that when you're literally making your metabolism slow down, as
Hmm.
well as you're forcing yourself to stop, whatever that thing is that you're stopping to eat for whatever
Yeah.
time period it is. But then it also makes sense surely when you have scenarios where you go on these diets and then you're adding on like a workout on top of it, and you're not seeing the type of momentum or different things because your metabolism is low. Man, that
Right.
makes so much sense.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense, Daniel. You're helping me.
Yeah. Yeah. So like that's why fasting is so powerful, right?
Hmm.
Because it cuts through that and it goes right to the fat and starts burning that. And
Right, right.
yeah, it's
Now,
nuts.
yeah. Now, what fasting specifically? Because I know people are listening and watching, and they're like, "Okay, he's saying fasting. Is he talking about abstaining from food for a long period of time, or what? What specifically? What fasting are we talking about?"
Yeah, I like to joke around that there's a million different ways to not eat, right? Because
Uh
that's
huh.
because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Are you gonna fast 16/8? Are you gonna fast? There's the alternate day where one day you don't fast and then you do fast and you go back and forth.
Yeah.
There's 5/2 where like 5 days out of the week you eat kind of healthy and then two
Mhm.
days is a pretty strict fast. There's a ton. There's absolutely a ton.
Right.
I would say I've tried them all at some
Mm.
point. When I first started, right, uh, I knew I had to do something, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I I I started. I figured, okay, I can do 16/8. That seems reasonable for me,
Okay.
right? So I started there, but then I got used to it,
Hmm.
and then I was like, okay, this feels comfortable. I'm gonna go longer without eating, and
Okay.
eventually I got to only eating once a day, and I
Hmm.
did that for a long time, and I
Okay.
got really comfortable with that. And then I decided, well, I wonder, can I eat every other day? One time every other day? And I
Hmm.
did that for a while. And now, like with the fasting dice, I you know I can roll and change it up, but
Hmm.
I've developed my own for myself that I go days. Like I'll roll it, I'll go a couple days or a day, whatever the dice says, and then I'll
Hmm.
just change it up that way. And
Wow.
that's comfortable for me because I built that, right?
Yeah.
it,
Right.
it's 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 like running, right? You build the endurance to go. You don't just run a marathon.
Yeah.
Same thing with fasting. So
Yeah. Okay.
so
I got you.
yeah, yeah. So it sounds nuts, but once you get to that point, it's amazing and it feels so good. It's surprising.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like that. So anybody that's listening and watching, I want y'all to hear this. First off, one, Daniel, hats off to you for you to even get to that point in reference to where not only are you fasting, doing kind of like I'm guessing this is the intermediate type fasting.
Hmm.
And so in this intermediate fasting, now you've gotten to a point where you have basically trained your body to be able to deal with these if it's one meal a day, if it's 2 days, if whatever that is, you've trained your
Yeah.
body to know how to continue to function and do what it needs to do with that. So, with that being said, for those that are watching and listening, yours might not be get jumping into a 1 day because,
Right.
and I'm
Yeah. No.
guessing you didn't start with just doing one meal a day.
No. No.
Um,
No. I started with 16/8. Like
yeah,
I
so
built
yeah,
up
so
to it.
16/8, that means what? If I'm correct, it's 8 hours that you do eat or you don't eat in the
It's 8 hours
16/8.
that you eat, but it's not, it's not 8 hours of continuous eating, right? It's not a
Right.
buffet. It's you have the opportunity to eat within 8 hours.
Right. So yeah, so you
Yeah.
have 8 hours where you have the opportunity to eat. I'm glad you clarified
Mhm.
that, Daniel. Help us
Yeah.
all. You have the opportunity to eat in the 8 hours, and then 16 hours you're not eating. But I do believe you can drink water, water, and I think tea or something to that effect, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot of people who are very strict about like, oh, you can't have this and you can't have that.
Hmm.
Look, if you're doing this, do what you need to do to make it sustainable, right?
I
So,
like this.
like, I have black coffee.
Okay.
That's fine.
Hmm.
I've been doing
Yeah.
it. It works. Or I'll have tea. Like I have tea right now with me in the middle of a fast. It's
Hmm.
fine. You
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
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 But those are okay to have.
Hmm.
You know. There is some studies that show like if you have drinks with artificial sweeteners like Diet Cokes or sodas
Hmm.
or sports drinks that are like 0 calories,
Hmm.
those artificial sweeteners do make it harder to fast because
Okay.
it triggers your hunger emotions.
Yeah.
Because the sweetness of it, like your body goes, "Oh, are we eating? What's going on?" And so it'll make you think that you want to eat. So those I would stay away from. But other than that, yeah.
Okay. So the reason why I'm one of the reasons why I want to
Mhm.
preference this piece with everyone that's listening and watching is because of this. One of the things that we all have to understand, surely when you're talking about shifting our lives in reference to making getting healthy, things of that nature, trying to lose weight in any form, um, you have to find the thing that works for you, the thing that you can live with. I love that you, Daniel, you specified the difference. It's a difference between he was dieting at one point and he told you the negative pieces and thought process behind the dieting context. But when he talks about fasting, he's all actually talking about it also in a lifestyle. So this has now become his lifestyle that he lives. So what you want to be able to learn or find out is what is something that you can be able to do as a lifestyle. Can you withstand from eating sweets for the rest of your life? Can you withstand from eating certain meats for the rest of your life? It's if that's not what you know that you can give up for the remainder of your life, then that's not going to be a lifestyle. That's something temporary, and that's called and considered as a diet. But what I also want to kind of talk about, Daniel, is this aspect as well. Is during your time of going through this new lifestyle change, what was the emotional piece that comes with it? Because I know for me, one of the things when I have tried to do, I'd say per se diets or just try to change up my lifestyle in reference to how I eat and working out or whatever those things might be, I'll get into a point where something will hit me emotionally. It might not even be anything with my weight. It might not even be what I'm eating.
Hmm.
It is literally, it hits me emotionally.
Yeah,
And what
life
I found out
happens.
about myself is that I'm an emotional eater. So when I
Hmm.
when I get into an emotional spin or I have a bad day or whatever, the comfort for me was going to a snack or consuming something and eating
Hmm.
something. So did you go through that same piece? And if so, how did you break through that and break past that?
Yeah, I mean, we have the term comfort food for a reason, right?
Right.
It's a thing that we do, you know,
Yeah.
and I still have that. Like, there's times where I'll be like, man, some cheesecake sounds amazing right now, you know, but
Yes.
I'm a person. It's,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I do give myself those opportunities. I don't know, maybe once a month, I'll do
Okay.
something, but I don't do it all the time. And the
Yeah.
funny thing is, with this, I'm so addicted to the results I'm getting that that when it comes time, there's times I'm like, I don't want to. I really don't want
Right.
to.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
doing too good, you know.
Yeah.
But for your initial question, yeah, that was tough because when I first started it, I was in a bad spot. Right,
Mhm.
my mobility was shot. Like I couldn't walk more than a few feet without
Wow.
huffing and puffing, or just um,
Mm.
there were points where I literally could not walk on my feet at all. So
Wow.
it was tough, right? So you're going through that, and then you take away food. That's rough. So I
Right.
I needed to come up with something. So what
Mm.
I came up with was um, I kept a notebook with me, and I still
Mm.
do every now and then. And
Okay.
and I thought, okay, if we're emotionally eating, if I'm feeling down and I feel like a hamburger is going to make me feel better or whatever,
Mhm.
um, first I'm going to write down what's making me feel bad, whatever that is, right?
Mm.
Then I'm going to write what I can currently do about it. Is there anything I can do about it?
Hmm.
Then I'm going to write how food is going to help that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then after writing that out, you look at it and you're like, well, Cheetos ain't going to help this,
Mhm.
you know? So like I don't need to. Plus also like writing it out, you
Right.
you
Right.
kind of like start processing the emotion, you know?
Yeah.
So
Wow. I never thought about doing that.
yeah.
Because I mean, that would probably, because the emotion is still there,
Hmm.
but the way to resolve it basically what you're doing is like you said, you're thinking through the process and really connecting to say, is this really going to fix the problem?
Right.
Is me getting that burger, is me going and, getting a bunch of snacks or, whatever that might be, is that thing going to fix this problem?
Yeah, chicken nuggets ain't
And
gonna help this.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if
Yeah.
it's not going to fix the problem, then there's no reason for me to do it.
Right.
And then eventually that does, the mindset of how to be able to fix that feeling changes.
Mhm.
I never thought about writing it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never thought. I've
That was a
heard.
game changer for me when I thought about that.
Yeah, I need to. I think I need to start doing that because that's a process. That is
Yeah.
a wonderful process. I've heard it through other conversations that I've
Mhm.
had, where they talk about, writing down how you feel about, just your day or whatever that might be, or what you're feeling in that moment, to start the process of just dealing with your feelings or being able to express your feelings as a man. But I never connected it to my weight.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, and if you don't want to keep a notebook, just your notes app in your phone, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Just sit there and text it out. It's fine. Yeah.
So, any man that is listening right now,
Mm-hmm.
or you are watching right now, if it's a wife that has snuck into these conversations and you're listening right now, um, this is a great moment. I have literally tried to figure out different various of ways. I've talked to people that I know that help me in different areas and asked them, okay, when I have this feeling, what am I supposed? How am I supposed to change it? Because if I'm not going to change it, I'm going to continue to gain weight. This is not going to change. The break, I'll never get that break, of fixing that problem of when I have emotions and I go directly to this. When I feel like I need, this is the only thing that can comfort me. And none of those suggestions has been this. So I challenge you that when you have that moment, when you have that crave, or you have that moment of where you feel like you need to be able to find something to comfort what you're feeling, take a pause, open up your phone. If you gotta, if you gotta go get a notebook, get something to write on.
Mm-hmm.
I got my tablet. Whatever that is, take a moment, pause, and write down the feeling. How am I
Yeah.
feeling right now? Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? And is this really going to fix that feeling? Or is
Mm-hmm.
it going to be temporary? And I
Right.
think a lot of decisions that we make, and you can agree to this as well, Daniel, a lot of the decisions that we make are temporary decisions or
Right.
temporary fixes. If
Right.
it's through our food, if it's through, drinking or whatever that might be, they're temporary fixes, but they're not actually fixing how we're actually feeling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is
Well, and
great.
especially in my case, that I needed to lose weight, right? Whenever I
Yeah.
would write down the problems and the issues, and then writing, well, ice cream ain't going to help this. It's only going to make it worse in the long term, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it definitely helps. It helped me a lot,
Yeah.
so.
No, and that's really what I believe is good. I'm telling you, I'm going to apply this to my own life. I'm about to start when I
That's
have
awesome.
these moments. Yeah,
Yeah.
when I have these moments, and I'm gonna be like Daniel said to type this out, write this out,
Hmm.
and this is going to help me. And I believe that I really do believe that it will. So now that you've been doing it, now you've been doing it. I think you said for how long now? 4 years.
Well, I've had 4 years to lose the weight, right? So in those
Okay.
4 years, I've tried everything, man,
Right.
everything. I even looked at weight loss surgery.
Mm,
There's a couple clinics within an hour of where I live that do weight loss surgery,
okay.
and yeah, I looked into that. I looked into the success rates. I have family members who have had weight loss surgery,
Okay. Okay.
and the concern I had going in was all the people I know that have had weight loss surgery. It
Mhm.
worked for about a year, and then it came back, and it came back worse. But
Right.
again, it was like a lot of it was that diet thing we talked about, right?
Mm, Yeah.
And then a lot of it too is, there's different clinics around the country that offer these
Hmm.
surgeries, but it's literally you walk in, you pay the money, you get the surgery, you walk out, and that's it. Then there's
Wow.
others that have programs
Yeah.
where they kind of guide you through it. The ones that have programs tend to have higher success rates.
Okay.
But that there's that popular show right now, My 600 Pound Life, right?
Right.
The whole thing is about weight loss surgery. You
Yeah.
know, the doctor in that show even says that like 90% of weight loss surgery is not successful if you do not handle the underlying issues.
Right.
So
Right.
you've got to attack that.
And me and my wife actually watched that show.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what I recognize as being those real underlying issues is people's feelings. And it
Yeah.
just keeps them in that pocket until they have a scenario where it's literally a life and death situation, and they're now
Yeah.
trying to break out of that so that they can live longer, and those type of things. But a lot of it has been the same thing: is that root of their emotions, and they are just constant emotionally eating, and they just don't like themselves. That makes them eat more. They don't like how they
Mm-hmm.
feel. That makes them eat more. It's just that constant revolve. And that's really what I wanted, why one of the reasons why I wanted us to have this conversation. Because when me and you talked, we titled this specifically, Why Can't I Lose Weight? And
Yeah.
at the end of it, it really has become, for a lot of us, I would say, is because of that same factor, is because of our emotions and really
Mm-hmm.
not being able to deal with that in the correct way. And I think that so far you've already given us a tool to be able to deal with that, and to be able
Yeah.
to progress. So what the question I want to ask Daniel is, what did you do? Okay, you went through the process, you started the fasting, you're now figuring out this way of how to deal with your emotions, and you're journaling it down, writing these things down to help yourself think through these process.
Mm-hmm.
um but just like anything else, after a certain time period, we get those what
Mm-hmm.
I would consider as testers. You get
Mm-hmm.
something that happens, it hits you, and to test to see if you really got what you say you got. How have you been able to hold on to it as long as you have?
Well, so the great thing about fasting, especially in the beginning, is it does give you pretty great results very quickly.
Okay.
So
Okay.
getting those results really grounded me to want to keep going and you know to pursue this.
Yeah.
There were times where like I had to change up what I was eating when
Hmm.
I did eat because fasting's great, but if you go and eat junk food afterwards, it ain't
Ain't gonna make a difference.
it's not,
Right.
yeah, it's not going to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do have to eat nutritiously. You got to eat good stuff. Um, I strongly recommend keeping it low carb or no carb when
Okay.
you do eat. You
Okay.
know, one when you do that, your body adapt is what they call it, fat adapts.
Okay.
So when you do fast, it's actually easier to fast if you're not
Hmm.
having carbs. Um,
Hmm.
you know, I don't know how much people would know this looking in, but sumo wrestlers actually do kind of intermittent fasting. But part
Wow.
of the problem is they do a lot of carbs, right?
Right. Right. Right.
So they eat a lot of carbs and then they go to sleep right after they eat. So
Okay.
those kinds of
Okay.
things negate the fasting because they typically do like a 16-8. So it does
Hmm.
matter what you eat
Hmm.
and how you go about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Daniel, you are bringing so much information to the table that I did not know about. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Sumo wrestlers do the 16-8? I did not know this at all.
But if you look at that too, is they've done studies on how healthy sumo wrestlers are.
Hmm.
They're surprisingly healthy for their size, like surprisingly, and a part of that is the fasting. So it's nuts how much that really helps.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So this is what I'm gonna do for everybody that's listening. I'm gonna challenge everybody. I'm about to challenge everybody because Daniel is putting so much out here that's messing with me right now. So I'm gonna push everyone and do let's challenge everybody for this. This is what the challenge is gonna be.
Okay.
I'm gonna challenge you to let's start looking at doing some form of intermediate fasting. Now they do, like you stated, they do have different levels. So don't jump into it. If you have not been doing any, don't jump into it talking
Yeah.
about I'm gonna do what Daniel does and he only eats twice a month. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
No,
Don't
no,
do
no,
that.
no, no.
Yeah. So let's start off slow. But what I also want you to attach to it and this challenge, what I also want you to attach to it is I want you to attach some form of journaling. When you feel the emotions that contradict what you're trying to go after, or not even per se the emotion that contradict but when you feel the emotion that make you want to do something that contradicts where you're trying to go, I want you to write it before you make an action. So it's
Yeah.
plainly saying if you feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling depressed in that day, if you're feeling whatever that negative feeling might be, instead of going to the thing that's going opposite than where you're trying to go, like for me, again, I go after snacks. I'm a cookie
Hmm.
monster. For I've been that since I was a child. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find me some cookies. I'm going for some form of snacks, and
Right.
but again, that's my comfort. So I'm challenging you because I'm putting myself in the challenge. So it's not, I ain't just throwing it out there, then y'all gonna be the only people out here doing it. But whatever that thing might be, now you might be listening and your thing might not be weight. You might not be the
Right.
person that says, hey, I've been struggling with my weight all this time. You might not be that scenario. You might be in perfect shape. You might be where me and Daniel is trying to get to. That you
Right.
might be that person listening. But I want you to still focus on this aspect of what does your negative feelings take you to do? Does it take you to have to go grab a bottle? Does it take you to go have to, do some form of, it might be a drug thing. Does it take you to go do where you feel like you got to go satisfy this negative feeling by going to find a woman? Whatever that thing might be that takes
Mhm.
you down somewhere because of how you feel in that present moment. Before you step out and do it, I want you to journal it. I want you to put
Mhm.
it in your phone. I want you to find, carry a notebook if you got to. Whatever you have to do, let's put some form of action to it. Let's write the thought process down so that we can become better. The purpose of me and Daniel's conversation is to be able to help us emotionally deal with this thing the right way, because again, for a lot of men, this is our struggle, in reference to our weight, and it is attached to this aspect of our emotions, and because of those negative emotions, we keep on two different weights. We have
Mhm.
the physical weight that we can naturally see, and
Mhm.
then we're carrying some emotional baggage that continues to weigh us down, and that's what me and Daniel, we wanted to make sure we fix that through this conversation.
Yeah. When I first started too, when I was really trying to change things, um, I do a lot of audiobooks listening to them,
Hmm.
and one of the ones I listened to was how. Uh, I don't want to say the full name of it because it's a swear word in the name, but how to unf your brain is the name of the
Got you.
book.
All right.
Yeah, and in there they have a really great suggestion: is you write down what your goal is. Right, we've heard that before,
Mm-hmm.
but also
Hmm.
write down what you believe you're going to feel like when you achieve that goal,
I like that.
and then write why you are worthy of reaching that goal and getting that feeling.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was a huge game changer for me.
Yeah,
You know,
that is.
it,
That's a very
yeah,
big game changer.
yeah. And with that one, like I keep that in my phone, and especially in the beginning when I would be tempted to break, I would look at that statement that I wrote myself and why I deserve to lose the weight.
Hmm,
And you know, things weren't that tasty after that. You know,
right.
I wanted that feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that. So it's what's your goal?
Hmm.
Um, is what emotion would you feel when you reach it?
Yeah. When you achieve that goal, how are you going to
Hmm.
feel?
Okay, when you
Yeah.
achieve that goal, how are you going to feel? And then the third one is, do you feel that you are worth feeling that? Basically,
Why you are worth feel why you are
why?
worthy of achieving that. Yeah.
Okay, why
Because
you are
self
worthy of
sabotage is
achieving?
real. You
Right,
know.
it is. It really, really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I like that though. I like that. I am gonna for those that are watching and listening, I'm gonna tag that audio book
Yeah.
underneath Daniel's information. I'm gonna tag
Yeah.
that underneath in the description below because again, it's wisdom, it's information,
Hmm.
it's things that are helping us to break these pieces, and so that's a very good nugget. I'll also put those three in there as well in the description so that you can be able to take it and answer it yourself. What is the goal
Hmm.
that you're trying to go after? You know, what is the emotion that you will feel when you achieve that goal? And I think that this is probably one of the most important pieces is why do you feel that you are uh, worthy, I would use that word, worthy to be able
Yeah.
to reach this goal. Because sometimes we don't even feel, even though we want to lose it, even though we want to change, sometimes we
Hmm.
don't feel that we are worthy to have it. And so I think that that would be great to be able to be as something that you keep before you as you continue to go forward. Daniel, I told you, you keep bringing some great stuff to this conversation that is helping us. So what advice or advice would you give to the man that is listening that is has been tired of being where he is
Hmm.
and now he's listening to this conversation and he's saying he's going to try it. He's going to try to make the change. What would be your advice to him?
One, you can do it. Like absolutely you can. Like I was in such a bad spot that if it wasn't going to work for somebody, it wasn't going to work for me, right? Like uh, I was just bad, bad, bad.
Right.
But so it's possible to turn it around. I have, right?
Yeah.
So so you can do that, but it's not going to be easy. There's a difference between simple and easy.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
simple, right? Don't eat. It's not easy.
Right.
So same thing. Your goals are simple. It's it's not going to be easy, and be
Yeah.
ready for that.
Yeah.
Another thing I would say is have a game plan already for when things turn south,
Hmm.
because life is going to happen. There's going to be challenges that pop up, and those are
Hmm.
typically the things that you're not ready for, and so it blindsides you, and you run to cookies or you run to ice cream or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
already have that game plan in your head so that when it does happen, you're ready.
Yeah. I like that. And I'm telling you, Daniel, you're just a man full of so much wisdom because I think that that's something that we don't prepare for. We prepare for the meals. We prepare for the food that we need to stay away from. We
Mm-hmm.
prepare for everything, but we don't prepare for what will happen when something hits you. Like what will
Mm-hmm.
happen when it doesn't start working out the way that you think. What will happen if you're weighing yourself and you don't lose the weight that you think in the time frame. you know all of
Mm-hmm.
those things are thought process that normally are reasons why we go backwards and say this don't work or quit in the midst of it. And so I'm thankful that you brought that up and that you said that because that's going to help so many people. And really being very honest, this conversation is really helping me. That's why I'm repeating a lot of what you're saying and going
Yeah,
through
yeah, I'm
all of
glad.
this
Yeah.
because I'm looking for some change within me, so that I don't have to continue to go through the same exact cycle as
Yeah.
well. So this is helpful. This is helpful in so many different various of ways, and so thank you for bringing your wisdom. Thank you for bringing your story and your life in this conversation and allowing us to be able to learn from your example of how to make this thing really really work. Um,
I'm just happy to help people. Like,
yes, sir.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, man. No, and you're helping. So just for the sake of saying, if you don't help anybody else in the entire world, this guy right here, you got me.
Good, good.
You got me, Daniel. You got me. You got me. So I want to ask this question, and I'm going to shift to one of our last questions that I love to ask everyone that comes on. But I want to ask this question because I can hear that there might be a man that's listening to this conversation, and he's saying, okay, I hear what Daniel is saying. I hear what Hiram is saying. It sounds like a bunch of good wisdom, but good instructions, good things, or whatever. But I don't know what was Daniel's real results.
Right.
So, can you share what was your real results that came out of when you started the process, went through the process, and now where you are currently, from where they were giving you 5 years to where we are
Oh
currently
yeah.
today?
Yeah. So when I started, right, I don't know what my top weight is,
Mhm, mhm,
because in the middle of everything, um when I was in the end of life room, I'd been confined to the bed for a week because I had
mhm.
internal bleeding.
Wow.
And at that point they stopped weighing me because they just didn't know what to do at that point. And
Yeah.
with the internal bleeding, that, I mean, it could, any movement could be it. So they stopped weighing me.
Wow.
The last I knew, at my top, I was right around 460, and
Wow.
and I and I'm only like 5'4", so I was a little bowling ball, you know.
Wow.
Um, and throughout the whole 4 years of trying to lose weight, I would lose some, gain it back, lose some, get, so it was constantly stop, start, start, start. So
Yeah.
when I did this, I had another stop, start, right?
Mhm.
So was I 460 at the start? Probably, maybe more. I don't.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard to say. My home scale stops at 390. And
Right.
and when I first started this, it took a couple of months before I could even weigh myself on the scale and see a
Wow.
number.
Wow.
So
Mm.
I say that I start at 460, but I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I am now, as of just 2 days ago, I'm at 295. So
Wow.
yeah, so I am down, what, 165 ish,
Yeah.
um, at
Mm.
least in 10 months, you know. But more than that, right? I have my mobility back. I'm in the gym 5, 6, 7 days a week.
Mm.
Um,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
I'm living my life again. I can do things. Um, on top of that, just recently, what, a month ago, I went and
Mhm.
saw my cardiologist, and he was just like, he doesn't talk about uh, needing a heart transplant in 5 years anymore.
Right.
He's like,
Right.
well,
Wow.
he's like, you're doing good. Next year we're gonna test your heart in these ways, but so far it looks great. I asked him, like, what do you think? He's like, well, if you can get to the BMI, it'll help you, but
Mhm.
you've
Mhm.
probably got decades at this point.
Wow.
Amazing, you know? Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, yeah. I saw my hematologist for the blood clots, just
Mhm.
2, 3 months ago. I got to go see him again pretty soon, actually. But he did my blood work, and this is the first time I've done blood work since the fasting.
Mhm.
And with the medications, we've seen improvement in my blood work.
Mhm.
As far as I understand it, they look for like specific proteins that tell them that you're susceptible to clots or whatever.
Okay. Okay.
But this last time was the first time with fasting. So he walks in, he looks at the paperwork, and he goes, "Yeah, this is perfect." And I was like, "Well, what do you
Wow.
mean?" He's like, "Oh, it's perfect." I go, "Well, you mean for like me, right? With my issues? You like it looks good." He's like, "No, no, no, it's perfect."
Mm,
You know, uh, I mean, I'm
wow.
still on my meds because that's one test, right? They're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
They need to
Yeah.
see some,
Multiple. Yeah.
multiple before we start talking that. But it's motivation
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know,
Keep going.
and literally to go from I can't walk to I'm doing whatever I want now in 10 months with all
Mm,
this weight
mm,
loss.
mm. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Man. Yeah, that's that, and that's why I couldn't leave our conversation without asking that. Because as you know this as well as I do, there's so many different conversations that's happening about weight, and majority of those people don't have a story. um they don't have any experience of being where we are or where you were. And and now seeing that transformation in their lives and actually can communicate results,
Yeah.
how that works not only on the external, but even talking about your blood and all the different other pieces that this lifestyle now that you're living has been affecting. And so I wanted people to be able to hear that, because I want them to know this is something that gives you life changing results.
It
And
gives you life.
yeah, it does. It truly, truly does. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful again. I'm grateful that you are here on this podcast having this conversation, and allowing people to be able to hear your story, and being able to give them the thing that they need now for their motivation to start making a change within them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
thank you for that. So the last question that I do have, and this is a
mhm,
question that I ask any person that comes on the podcast, and
yeah.
it is, what's greatness to you? What do you define greatness as?
For me, I think greatness is the ability to add to other people's lives,
Mm,
not
yeah.
just your own, but others. I think there's a lot of wisdom and a lot of peace in benefiting others,
Okay.
and so for me, that's greatness.
Yes, sir. No, that is.
Yeah.
That is truly, truly greatness. I loved asking that question because one, you get various of different answers, because of different people's background, lifestyle, of their journey, and but majority of the people, they answer it really almost the same. And it might per se come off in reference to sounding different, but it basically sometimes comes off the same conversation. And so I believe that's truly is what greatness is. So again, I'm so thankful that you took out some time to spend with me, and help me out a little bit, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and help some others. And I pray that you'll be able to see my journey of transformation, and I'll make sure that as I continue to uh, push and do this challenge for my own self, I'm a connected and be like, yeah, this all started because of a conversation that I had with Daniel, and
Yeah.
Daniel has helped me in both ways. So you see me physically, but also
Yeah.
emotionally, I'm able to change because of a conversation that I had with you. So thank you
Yeah.
so much, sir.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So thank you, everyone that is watching this and that is listening to this. As always, I am grateful and thankful that you continue on this journey, because, again, I'm making sure that I'm bringing people that I believe can be able to bring the tools, the wisdom, the things that we need so that we can become great in our own lives. So thank you all, and y'all continue to be blessed and continue to be great. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye. Thank you all for watching this video. My heart is, and that I don't do this for myself. I make sure that I am doing this for you to bring you the tools that you need so you can walk in your greatness. So continue with me every Monday, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, as well as you can make sure that you listen to me on all podcast platforms. And let's continue to grow this greatness tribe.